Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. Today, we're going to be talking about branding, but it's actually going to be going much deeper than that, because the one thing that I've learned about marketing, sales, coaching, consulting is there's such a huge psychological aspect that has to be learned, or at least understood at the very least, along with the tactical parts of this. And that's what I'm going to get into with my guest today. She is an internationally accredited behavioral profiler and personal branding expert. And really, she specializes in helping heart-centered, passionate female entrepreneurs by showing them how to create a unique and authentic personal brand. And her extensive experience in sales and marketing, coupled with her background in coaching and consulting, has given her the passion and understanding to empower others to achieve outstanding results. And she is on a mission to give female entrepreneurs permission to shine and create an abundant life for themselves. She is the author of Branding Yourself for Success, How to Attract Clients That Say Yes. So with that, welcome to Influencers Radio, Ramona Lever. How are you doing, Ramona?
Hi, Jack. I am wonderful, and I am really excited to be here chatting with you today. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, well, I always love it when I get to talk to someone across the other side of the world, especially when I know it's early for you. So you got your coffee, right?
I've got a cup of tea. Yeah, down under, cup of tea.
Good enough. We drink coffee 24 hours a day here, so it all works out. So, like I said, branding. And before we get into that tactical part of branding as it relates to marketing and sales, I'd like to get into your background as a photographer, because, you really, it seems like you got a unique and somewhat unfiltered view into the real and perceived problems of the people that you would, eventually come to help. So let's start with that. Take us back to how this kind of all unfolded through your photography.
Yeah, so actually it was accidental. I got into photography, and coming from a coaching background, I knew that my mission was to provide women with beautiful headshots that they loved. And there wasn't many female, women that understood how other women were feeling about getting their photos taken. So I was on a mission to do that. And then what happened was, as these women were coming through, I started seeing that it was way more than just me, pointing the camera at them and getting the photo. It was I guess I really wanted them to come across in their images as being really genuine, and I wanted their souls to be captured in their eye, that real, the heart of them to be seen in their images. So to do that, I really had to get them into a place of trusting me and me understanding exactly who they were and what they needed for their websites. And as that went on, I started seeing the same pattern, that a lot of the women that were coming in were thinking that they needed to be somebody else to be successful and to run this business. That they'd started off with their heart getting into the business, but then somewhere along the line they got caught up in thinking that they needed to be someone else. So yeah, this pattern formed, and I started studying personal branding and just, I guess, look for that formula on what I could use to really get really quick at the beginning with them, so that I could get them straight into and get their photos and get really good, authentic photos of them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you talked about how these are women in business. They're entrepreneurs, right?
That's right, yeah.
And so it's a bit of a different experience than someone coming in for that that wedding photo or the graduation photo. These are they are in a unique position that they're trying to put their best self forward for their business, but maybe that was in conflict with what they're feeling about themselves. And to me, I mean, that's just a brilliant that you're able to recognize. Is that kind of what you discovered as you started doing this?
Exactly, because a lot of it started from their photos being taken, because that was the image they were presenting to the world. And if they were dressed or posing or presenting themselves in a way that wasn't really who they were, and then they put that on their website, and then their copy, if that's not authentic, then their clients are going to feel it, and then they start feeling like a fraud, and it continues on. So it was sort of taking it right back to that first step of who are you, so we can capture that. So it made them, I guess, think and step back and work out, this is way more than just my photo being taken.
And listening to you and reading your book, I would imagine that they probably came in with the thought of, I need to look like an expert.
Exactly.
And I guess what you did was recognize and maybe help them to realize that they didn't have to look like this expert, that they could be themselves and have value in that. Did that seem to kind of have them loosen up and bring in that kind of authentic? Because the photos that you do are just fantastic. We're used to seeing the photos of, we've all seen the real estate agent photos, with them holding their collar up and trying to look like, the glamour shots. And I think that's where, the value that you had to be able to recognize that and to let them say, you don't have to pose like an expert, just be yourself and have it come through that strongly, right?
Exactly. And I was so blessed because I had a coaching and a personality profiling in my background. So I have this gift of being able to, I guess, tap in and read who a person really is. And I could tell when something was a little bit off with who they were trying to be and who I could see they actually were. So I guess I'd sort of, little bit by little bit bring that out in them and find out, well, what is your strengths and who are you, and, what makes your heart sing? And then as we went along, they'd come alive, and that's when, the camera would start clicking, because I'd start bringing that out. And I guess I was tapping them back into who they really were. So it was just, I sold the studio 2 years ago, and I really, really missed that because of illness, but with my eyes. But I've continued on with the personal branding, which still really gets me excited.
And so let's talk about that as it relates to the personal branding, because I guess that brings us to the next part. A lot of people think that, I need to start working on my brand, and they jump ahead to that. But obviously, you've kind of made it clear, and one of the things that there has to be a foundation there before you start that branding. And it seems like one of the first things you do is to get rid of, or at least help them recognize and eliminate that self-doubt and get comfortable with what their real, I guess, authentic is the word you use, authentic brand. You do that. How do you do that to set that foundation to get them in that right headspace?
Yeah, so I pretty much use like a 3-step process that I've kind of find that it really works. First of all, I guess as women, speaking for myself, we have a lot of, I guess, blocks and things going on with us first around self-doubt. So I first work with them to get rid of all that stuff. We then go into, I guess, working out, what's your skills, what's your talents, what's your experience, what's your passions, really getting down to bringing out whatever it is that makes you want to follow your bliss. We work on that, and then from that we work, on their skills, and we team it all together so that we're, creating this unique individual little package of you. And then that's the essence that we want to bring forward in their marketing and their website. And it gives them, I guess, somewhere to lead, that whenever they're off track, they can hit back into that sweet spot and say, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is who I am. Because we seem to forget along the way why we're doing what we're doing. And I always say, as a woman, because we have all this stuff going on and we're trying to sort of be in that business, that masculine side, and we can sometimes disconnect from that passion side. So that's very much what I love to bring out in personal branding.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about your book. So the Branding Yourself for Success, how to attract clients that say yes. One of the things, and I look at a lot of marketing books and sales books, and one of the things that I have noticed with a lot of branding books is they seem to kind of jump ahead and make assumptions on where people are starting when we're trying to understand what branding is. And they do get into the very kind of tactical and almost sterile part. But you could start from the beginning with answering questions that I think are on a lot of people's minds, and maybe they're afraid to ask. They're afraid that, I don't want to look foolish or like I don't know what I'm doing. But you answer questions like, what is personal branding, and the difference between branding versus personal branding. Can you go into a little bit of that and explain what personal branding is and how it differs from what people think about as in traditional branding?
Yeah, so branding has been around forever. That's all your, your logos and your sign writing and your colours and all the things that visually, I guess, represent who you are. Personal branding is you yourself. So it's everyone already has a brand right from the moment they're born. People will have an opinion on who they think you are. And the idea of creating your personal branding or your personal brand is to, I guess, it's not to manipulate how people see you, but it's being, presenting the parts of you that are relevant to your career or your business, so that you're, I guess, getting your skills and your talents and all those things about you, so that people, when they Google you or think of you, they straight away relate you to your, that thing that you're doing. So with me, it's my personal brand is around personal branding. So everything that I love and that I put out online goes back to that. So it's very much about the essence of who you are and what you stand for and your skills and everything that comes with that, if that makes sense. It does.
And I think the most important word that you're saying there is you. All right, because one thing that I got out of this and the distinction is that you make it clear that personal branding is you don't get the luxury of hiding behind a logo or some corporate moniker, that you are a bit exposed, right, and you're putting yourself out there. And you make a statement. One of the chapters in there is about taking control of your brand. And when I first read that, I thought, well, who else is going to control my brand? That's my brand. But you made some really good points that I think a lot of people don't think about. What do you mean by that when you say why it's the necessity is there of taking control of your personal brand?
Yeah, so like everything comes back to you being authentic and you being who you are. So you want to be, Facebook is massive now. So what you're putting out on Facebook needs to represent who you are. You need to, if you're someone that, whinges and puts people down but you're a coach or you're in the limelight for helping people, well, that's your personal brand. So you can put as much as you want on your website and create the most beautiful logo and expensive website. But if you're out there, speaking in a way that's not in alignment with what you're saying you do, you're actually bringing your personal brand down. So there's so many parts of your personal brand that you need to walk the walk and talk the talk. Is that the saying? So that you are in alignment with who you want your personal brand to be, and that's what I mean by controlling it. You really need to check in and see if who you're being is the person that you're saying you are.
And it seems like, and it really made me think that today there is no neutral when it comes to this. That there's something out there about you, and either you can control what that is, or you can, what's the old saying, you can make things happen or you can let things happen, right?
That's right. Yes.
And so when when you're taking control is you're kind of directing where that's going and making decisions about how you're seen out there, because it really is true that there is no neutral. You can't just say nope, I'm not going to participate, especially if you're in business, right? There's going to be something out there.
Exactly. Yeah. And also if the part of controlling it as well, if there's nothing out there on you, about you online, which, if you're in business and you're, especially the women that I work with that are solopreneurs, they want to get some stuff out of there. So they want to be seen as an expert or an authority in their field so that they, that's people are going to Google them. So they want to be taking control and setting it up so people will find them online.
Well, one thing that you've definitely put an emphasis on is online, right? I guess we live in a day and age where, it seems like, years ago, online was somewhere you went. Now online is somewhere you take a break from, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's what people, so you have put an emphasis on creating your brand online because I guess it's a double-edged sword, right? It's something that the average person can do and make a big impact, but I guess it's also something that can get away from someone pretty quickly if they don't do it correctly. How important is that to someone you think focus, if they're going to start somewhere, focusing that branding with online assets?
Look, online, 100%. That's so important in this day and age. You can be in a meeting with someone and walk out the door and they're already Googling you, or you're coming in for a meeting and they've already checked you out and stalked you. But saying that, there is still the people component. There's that people part where if you are networking and you are writing, you still need to have control. And I mean control, I mean you need to make sure your personal brand is aligned with who you are. So the way that what you expect from people and what you give to people has to all be in line again with your personal brand. So it runs through, you should be who you are professionally. There should be an element of that in you personally as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's where a lot of people, I guess the lines get blurred between, branding and marketing. They think, well, if I'm online, I need to go out and ask for sales or give me your email address or do this. And so you make a distinction between marketing and personal branding. I'll let you describe that. What do you think is the best description between that distinction of marketing and branding?
Oh, well, how I use it in the book is for instance, with networking, as I was saying before, you don't want to be going in and marketing yourself as you're just going up and putting a business card in someone's hand and that's as far as it got. Personal branding is about who you are, and you want to give as to get, I guess. Not even giving to getting. It's just being there and present and connected and really listening to the other person. And that person, if they need you, they're going to remember you because you've come from that place of the heart. You're not there to push yourself in the traditional masculine. I'm saying masculine, but it's sort of more of a left brain type of marketing. Marketing nowadays, the way I see it, is more about who you're being and getting out there and coming from your heart, and then those people will remember you, if they do need you.
And so you actually set out some rules, I guess what you call the rules of personal branding, that I think it makes it easy for people to follow. It's almost like, you can go back and check, am I doing this? You can say, here's what I'm doing online. Let me make sure I'm covering these rules of personal branding. So if you don't mind, I'd like to run through those. The first one that you talk about is being authentic. And you talked a little bit about that. And rather than telling someone how to be authentic, what are some examples that you've seen people kind of fall into the trap of not being authentic, what they think they feel they need to do to convince people that they're, an expert or maybe something that they're not? What would some examples of that be?
Oh, look, we see it all the time. It's women can get, there's a thing called imposter syndrome, where we're feeling that we're imposters. We're not actually as good as where we think we make ourselves out to be. So we feel like we have to dress better than what we would normally, and, have the full makeup and do things that we wouldn't normally do to impress other people. So just being able to scale that back and say, no, this is who I am, and I'm really comfortable like this, and knowing that this is who I am is going to connect up with the people that get me. It's kind of switching from that of how you think you need to be to actually being who you are.
And that's much easier to do, isn't it?
It is. But for some reason, it's a hard thing. It is. So it's just allowing yourself to, and I guess that's part of once you just do your personal brand and take it right back to seeing your skills and what you're passionate about, that other stuff doesn't matter as much, because you know your worth on what you can actually really do for somebody.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because people sometimes, I guess, miss the value that they have, and I think when they're being themselves and authentic, and people say, "Yeah, I still want to pay you," it makes it much more easier for you to recognize that yourself. Yeah. So, and that would be the next step, is clearly define what you do. Now, that sounds like something easy to do, right? But it seems to be so very difficult for so many people. Well, why is that? Are they trying to make it sound like what they do is more grand than what it is, or do they think that it sounds too simple? But it's remarkable how many people I meet that really struggle with being able to define what it is that they do.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of, fancy and clever word and copy out there now that, people want to use to, instead of just saying, I'm a doctor, I'm a specialist in blah, 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 which is fine, because, if you are a specialist in that area, you do need to say that. But at the end of the day, they're a doctor. So being able to, I guess, to someone that doesn't know what you do, or, I didn't know what a VA was for a long time, a virtual assistant. I knew what they were, but I didn't actually know what they did until I found out, until they broke it down for me. So it's explaining to people that don't know what you do in very layman's terms. I say, if you can explain it to a 6-year-old and say, this is what I do, and they get it, well, then you're successful in explaining what you do.
Yeah, and I think so many people miss out. They think they have a failed business model, or they don't have any value simply because people don't understand what it is that they do.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Another one of your rules of personal branding is consistency. And that's another one that seems to be, it would be obvious, but you see people a lot when one day, they're on Facebook, talking about one thing, or pouring their heart out about something, or something that is very inconsistent with what they talk about the next day, right? So again, rather than saying, what they should do, what are some examples of that you see where people really kind of hurt themselves by not being consistent?
Yeah, so consistency goes all the way from the way you respond to emails, the way that you book in appointments, the way that you deal with your customers. You really need to set up systems and structure within your business. You also need to be consistent, as we were talking about before, with your Facebook posts. And, you've got to stand for something, and you've got to be consistent in how you represent yourself.
And I guess that's where people, I know it's almost a contradiction. They try to force authenticity, right? It's
yes.
Let me say, well, what can I do that makes me look like I'm being authentic?
Yes, and people see through it. People are smart. People, intuitively know when someone's being authentic or not.
Well, I guess that comes to the next point. You stress about using your personal name. Yeah. And I guess that's probably a good starting point with being authentic, because you do see people come across them. Should I use a pen name? Should I come up with some, cool movie star, sexy name, or what is it that, besides just hitting the ear, what is it that it does for someone personally when they use their real name, and how that helps with being authentic?
Well, it shows you that you're what's the word? You're confident enough to put yourself out there. So you're backing yourself, number one. If I meet someone and they don't have their name.com, I don't understand it. It's something that I think you need to have, and whether it's just a landing page or whether it's just a page and information about you. And I'm talking about obviously women that are in business. You have to have that. You can have your name.com, and then your business could be, whatever it is, fly away or whatever you're coaching or whatever you want to call it. But it's so important because you've got this is your name, this is who you are, and this is how you find me, and this is my email, and it's consistent, and it all just shows that you're backing yourself.
And so I guess it all kind of circles back around with consistency because, one of the things that I want to bring up is, we've talked here about entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of people, women in particular, that may be listening to this, that they may not entrepreneurs in the true sense of entrepreneurs, but they may be professionals. They may be moving up in their jobs and their careers. What is it? Because once people establish something out there that I'm this, and I think that's where probably that authentic, it helps by staying authentic, because they try to put themselves out there as I'm this person, this specialist, and then they change jobs, or and I don't want to say change or switch gears, rather they evolve, as we all do.
Yep.
Right? What is a way to naturally, that progression to evolving, both as an entrepreneur, but also even as a professional, because, once we're online, that stays there for a long, long time. And if you're talking to someone and says, well, last 2 years ago, you were a psychic stone healer, and now you're a brain surgeon. I don't know what's the, so what's the best way to, be authentic and allow people to see that you evolve, because we all do evolve. We evolve and do different things because I think a lot of people are maybe in a fear that they'll be seen as, someone that's switching, or they may try to hide that evolution rather than embrace it. What do you do when life takes a different path?
Yeah, and I'm a perfect example of that. I've had so many different careers. People will say to me, what are you doing now? But that goes back to when we first do your personal brand. Your passion and your purpose, I say passion, purpose and power is who you are at your core. So if you're continuing that along, if you've still got that theme, no matter what you do or change. So I was doing photography, which is very different to what I'm doing now, which is intuitive coaching and working with entrepreneurs. I'm more mind now, whereas before it was more the physical camera. So, but the theme of me wanting to empower women and bring out the best of them is still there. So it's important that you tap into that, whatever that passion is and that sole purpose, and just keep bringing that through. And the beauty of having your own name.com is that you can change it. You can change that website and it's still you, whereas if you've got a company name or a business name, it's usually related to that service. So having your own name allows you to change your website, which I do frequently. And it's part of life. It's part of transformation and part of learning, okay, that didn't work or that worked, or allowing you to, have new experiences and bring out more passion and more skills as you go along.
Well, you mentioned something. What was it? Passion,
purpose, power.
Passion, purpose, power. So those are three things that it seems like you should wake up knowing, right? Every day. But for some people, it's a discovery. And I know with the people that you've worked with, just like you talking about when you were working with the women in the photography, how it would just kind of hit them, right? That discovery, that realization. And you, in your book, you talk about uncovering your personal brand, and it may not sound, or it may sound odd, but that is something that it's a discovery to a lot of people.
Yeah, because before that, what's happening is they've found, usually the women that I work with have already got an idea, or they're doing something, they've started something, or, there's something going on in their head that makes them want to not do the 9-to-5 and, go out and do it on their own. And what I do is, let them have a look at the big vision of why this is so important to them, why they can do it, why they're unique, and the service and the package that they've got to offer. So once they get that all together and they look at it, that gives them the confidence to say, I can actually do this, and I do have something that's unique, and I am good at what I do. And it's giving them, tapping them back into their power. Once they figure out their purpose and their passion, and then they tap into their power to then go out there and conquer, I guess, because before that, they're just taking something that they love to do and just trying to make it work. So there's all these little bits, self-doubt and so on creeping in.
And I think that leads us to the next thing that I want to dig into is the one thing that required in having a business is customers, right? Clients. And I think that's probably where the problem begins, is when they try to be someone that they're not, is they're thinking, who do I have to be in order to attract the most people? And who do I have to be to stand out from my competition? But one of the things that you describe so, wonderfully in your book is why that's counterproductive. And I guess it boils down to, rather than trying to turn yourself into a person that might be attractive to the most prospects out there, instead you say, let's find the prospects that are attracted to who you already are.
Exactly.
Dig into that, because that is, I think, one of the most powerful things that you do is to help someone, recognize what that is and realize that that's what they need to be doing.
Yeah, so that comes back to niching as well. So once you work out exactly, hone it right down, exactly the person that you can help, you start attracting those people to you, because you start marketing, you start speaking to them as if that one person, which I go through a full process with them to get to that person, you can talk directly to them. So all these other people that aren't your people, they'll just fall away. They won't be attracted to you. And then those ones that say, oh, she's talking to me, they're the ones that are going to come through. I did this the hard way. I was trying to be who I thought I needed to be to get clients so that I could earn money and be successful. And I was bringing in all these clients that would, I'd have so many problems with them, and we just wouldn't get each other. It's like we would be talking different languages, because I was, I guess, trying to be who they needed me to be, but that wasn't me. And once I learned about this and really started getting specific and right down to the exact person, and I'm talking about, it's like I create a human being. I go into their name, what they do, their income, where they work, where you find them, what they love. We go so deep into who this person is that when you focus on that person, it's like the world opens up and those people see you. It's like you've got you're a beacon of light, and you're saying, come on, come in, and they all just start coming to you. So getting specific on your ideal client, it's a bit hard at the beginning, but what it does is it just brings these clients through that appreciate you and actually want to pay you for your service. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's really, really important that needs to be a high priority in being successful in your business.
And one of the things, you make a pretty bold statement that, when people do this, you say that there's no such thing as competition. When I first read that, I thought, I think Coke and Pepsi need to talk to Ramona, right? But then you realize when you are building this personal brand, you don't need to be Coke and Pepsi. Right? You don't need to do that. And I think that's how it comes around back home, and how you tie it all up so neatly is there's no such thing as competition when you are, I guess, targeting that person that needs you the most, right?
Yeah, and see, I'm a Pepsi girl. All my kids are Coke people. But it's just there's a quote. You could be the juiciest peach, and people still won't like peaches. Some people don't like peaches. So some people are just not going to want to work with you. They just don't get you. They don't. But there is someone else perfect for them. So you want to be bringing in the people that get you and want what you have to offer. You don't want to be trying to spread yourself wide made and trying to attract everyone, because it's so much easier to say, this is who I am and this is who I'd love to work with. Come and get me. And then it's just such an easier flow, because you're working with people that will flow with you.
And I think that's such a wonderful analogy that you just made, because there's so many people that, using that peach analogy, there's so many people that are the juicy peaches that spend so much of their time and take it personally. They're trying to convince the people that just don't like peaches of why they should like them, rather than spending the time on being that thing that enough people already love and want.
Exactly.
That is, and that's why I think the psychology of this is really remarkable. It's because you really do show that people are working extremely hard to be less productive than they could be if they were just themselves.
Just be themselves and work out their values and work out what's important to them, so that they're bringing that across and attracting those people to them as well.
And, one of the things that you talk about that I think I need to put a spotlight on is because is you're talking about when you're putting together your personal brand, the do-it-yourself versus hiring experts, right?
Yeah.
And I see this a lot, and maybe you do. How many people, once they kind of get it, all of a sudden their time is sucked into the technical and tedious parts of putting this together, rather than spending their time on the most value?
The whole back end, a lot of people want to save money, and it's not only about saving the money. If you're working on your website and you're working on your blog and you're doing all these things, it's taking you away from actually getting out there. And I keep saying, as women, I'll say it again, as women, we sometimes have this thing called fear of success and not wanting to be seen. And although we know we've got this thing that's moving us, that wants us to change the world, we hold ourselves back. And the easiest way to do that is to work on your business and hide away that way. And so, but the thing is, I'm a firm believer in doing as much as I can so that I understand it and learn it. And once I've learned, then I know all about it. I then pass it on and let someone else do it and pay them for it, because then I'm able to say, no, that's wrong, that's right. But some people get so caught up in trying to do it all themselves, and their business, it doesn't work because they're not out there working.
It is. I wonder, I often think to myself, how many of the great, brilliant innovations have been lost and just evaporate into the air because the person was saying, well, I'm going to change the world as soon as I get this picture just right. I'm like,
yeah. And then the other thing is procrastination, which really is just overwhelm. You just haven't put your stuff in order to work out what you need to do. You haven't ticked off a list, you're just sort of stuck in this state of confusion, I guess. So it's a matter of saying, what can I do today? How can I use my time, instead of just jumping on Facebook and then 2 hours later, you've saved all these links because you want to do this program, this course, and this. It's just you just need to take action, and you need to say, my priority is to connect with this many people and actually work.
Yeah, well, I know people that are the list people. There's they get such a thrill of checking things off lists that they spend all their time making new lists, right?
They need a list for the list.
Yeah, I need something else to check off, So then this conversation has had a few different layers. One, talking about this, but also I think you've demonstrated exactly what you're talking about. That you're okay that if you're not for everyone, but there's someone listening right now that's like, yes, Ramona gets it. Right? That's, I don't need to work so hard. I don't need to pretend. I don't need to be in fear of people finding out I'm not what I think I need to put out there. So how can people find out more about what you're doing and some of the programs that you have? Because I really do think that you make a tremendous difference in a lot of people's lives with this.
I'm so blessed with what I do. I love it. And look, it's my name, RamonaLever.com. And yeah, just hop on there and you'll see I have a business breakthrough package that I work, 3 steps to break women through, I guess, in a nice way. So RamonaLever.com.
All right. And also I have to say your book is someone that I think wants a simple but effective understanding of branding, especially that psychological foundation that needs to be there, and understanding the differences between branding and personal branding. Your book, Branding Yourself for Success, How to Attract Clients That Say Yes. Did you know that was going to rhyme like that?
Yeah, I did.
That was clever. I thought, wow, that's kind of cool the way that works. How can they get a copy of the book?
Just hop on Amazon. Type it in, Branding Yourself for Success, Ramona Lever. It'll pop up on there. If anything else, just go to RamonaLever.com and shoot me through an email.
Ramona, I got to thank you for coming on and sharing this information, because I think one of the biggest values that I think people get from listening to you is realizing that there is a different way. There's a better way. There's an easier way. There's a more authentic way for me to be doing this. And it really is. What's the old saying? Perfection's not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing more to take away. Right. And I think you probably help people get rid of more stuff that they think they need than add stuff to what they need for their branding. And I think that's probably just a huge relief for folks. So I want to thank you for coming on and sharing that with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And I actually have my own quote, which is, there's no connection in perfection. So the more real you are, the more you connect with people, the more people are going to, be attracted to you and want what you've got when you're being yourself. So thank you, Jack. It was my pleasure. And I'm so happy to share this stuff, because women need to know this stuff, that we're okay to be us and we're amazing, and we just need to tap back into our heart center and then go and change the world.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I think men could use it too.
They can, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
All right, folks, there you have it. Definitely check it out, RamonaLever.com, RamonaLever.com. We'll have links up on the show post, and also definitely check out Ramona's book, Branding Yourself for Success, How to Attract Clients That Say Yes. And with that, until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.